Alright, this is just a pro tips video. This is like what I used to watch when I was trying to get better at Halo 3, and that was like the height of all the Halo competition. So, I'm just gonna go over a couple things that I remember trying to learn that give you just that extra edge that are gonna help you um, push your skills over the top. So, in my head, I had this video, and I was like gonna do it on Simplex. So that's pretty much what I was thinking. Um, and Yep, or I guess we'll just do it live. So there's three that I'm gonna go over, um, and it's just stuff that I watched from players like Lunchbox, Ace, and it was just like the small things that they did in matchmaking or the small things that they did at a tournament that would put them, that small skill gap that was above, the top 4 versus the top 8, or the top 8 versus the top 16, or top 16 versus semi-pro back then. And so I guess the first one is shields and knowing when to challenge and knowing how to hug certain walls when you're shooting. So you're not just going to be jumping out, flying out. That shit works online, but when you get on land, you're going to get melted. And so if you're trained to be a tournament player and actually trying to get yourself out there, then it's going to be sort of point to try to challenge everybody all the time. That's just not going to happen. When you get drilled by 2 BRs, you're going to die quickly. So first one is just like being aware of your shields. So let's say Jordan puts 2 shots on me, right? I'm going to wait. If I'm not going to challenge him, then I can't be doing this. I can't be waiting and then going challenge now so he can shoot me. So like, Jordan, put 2 shots at me. Right? Okay. So if I'm weak, right? I'm not going to challenge Jordan put shots at me as soon as you see me. Alright? I'm not going to challenge now when he puts shots. See, I'm already... He stopped my shields from recharging the full way. So you have to give it the extra millisecond for it to recharge before you pop out. If you're going to challenge. That way, he thinks you're weak, and you're going to get that advantage on him. So just being really aware of your shields is probably the biggest thing. You see a lot of like amateur players, and they're challenging a little bit too early. There are certain scenarios when, if you have them 2 or 3 dead, that last guy, if you have your teammates there and you're going to try to challenge him, you can challenge him together. You're going to be able to get that kill. But for the most part, you really don't want to be jumping out when your shields are like regaining, because you're going to get shot back to where you were initially. So that's number 1. And like with that, you want to also be trying to hug walls as much as possible. So your routes on the map, just like Call of Duty players have specific routes, you should be having specific routes in Halo that are going to keep you shot by less people. You're going to eliminate angles when you're shooting. So you don't want to be shooting here, top gold to top purple. You want to be shooting here, top gold, top purple. So that's number 1. Number 2 is being aware of your nades and being aware of your ammo. Okay, so if I have, I need to know if I have 5 shots remaining before I'm gonna challenge somebody or before I need to reload. If I'm all the way down here, if I'm all the way right there, that's only 2 shots. That's not gonna do me any good. I'm gonna have to back down for a second, be like, I'm reloading, wait, and then I'll help. Or shoot or attack or be aggressive or whatever it is. If you have 2 shots down, you need to try to feel comfortable with your ammo. You can't, you can still get a 5 shot with that, and you can still put shots with that. You don't need to be reloading. I see a lot of amateur players, they'll be right here, they'll look, 2 shots gold, then they'll reload around the corner, and as they're coming around the corner, the opposing team is right there in front of them, gets first 2 shots, like, here, well, this is just the scenario. I put 2 shots, right? Okay, 2 shots gold, I turn the corner, he's there, and I'm reloading. Okay, now he's got an easy kill. You really want to be aware of your ammo and how much you have, because you have to feel comfortable with having less ammo than a full clip. And there's a lot of players that don't feel comfortable unless they have a full clip. On the nade side to that step 2 or tip 2 is that you're gonna want to be a lot more aware of your nades. You don't want to sit there and be. I see a lot of amateur players and they'll spawn and they'll hear one's 1 shot, they're gold, and they'll just just jump out and just be chucking nades across map, or they'll Hail Mary that shit all the time, and then all of a sudden they don't have any nades. You need to be. It's like a 50-50. If you know that there's 2 pushing gold, you can get those 2 easy nades gold from, let's say, top of your base. You're gonna be nading gold right here. That's a higher percentage spot that you're gonna be getting a grenade kill possibly, and it's gonna keep them at bay. Exactly where Jordan is right now. So, but if if you see like, if you hear, one shot their base, and I see people throwing nades across map, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Not only are you wasting the seconds to throw them, but you're wasting the nades, and then you're going to hurt yourself later on, because if you're in a scenario where a guy's chasing you, or, two guys are pushing gold, or pushing purple, or wherever it may be, and you get to pop the easy nade and then get the easy double, that's a bad, or you're behind people, flanking, using nades flanking is like a really big one. That's a big, huge pro advantage. Instead of going for the melee, or instead of just shooting, you want to get those easy nades behind somebody. So that's that. I would definitely say that's pro tip too. Just like not necessarily my pro tips, so like what gave me the ability to get better, but these are the things that I observed some of the top players in the game doing. And it gives them that extra 1 or 2 kills that might put their team over the edge to win the game. Because I remember in Halo 3 there was a lot of games, like for instance on Onslaught, there's a lot of games that were tied 4-4, neck and neck game, and then you'd only win by 1 cap. Shit like that would happen all the time on Narrows, Onslaught. The competition was close, so you wanna do whatever you can to put your team above the rest, get those 1 or 2 extra kills a game. Number 3, what was I gonna do for number 3? I can't even remember.
Something with OS?
No, it wasn't something with OS. Fuck, I'm like dying here. I can't even remember the third one. Oh fuck, I can't remember the third one. A big thing, just a side note. I'm trying to think of the third one right now, but a big thing that's a side note is when I see a lot of amateur players, and they'll sprint into a battle. They'll hear, like, let's say, where are you, Jordan? Where are you?
Front red.
All right, okay. Let's say I hear red courtyard, right? And that may be a one-shot or a weak guy, but I don't know that there's I'm not thinking about the other teammates on his team that might be looking to help. So I'm just gonna sprint top gold, and I see I'm sprinting, and all of a sudden Jordan's got first 2 shots on me, and then I'm down in the battle. I can't help anybody anymore. I still have problems when I do that sometimes. Like, I still catch myself doing that. So being really aware of your sprint, and not just charging in, and trying to take the extra second to push in and be aggressive, rather than just jumping and sprinting. That's just a big amateur mistake when it comes to sprint in Halo. Last thing I was going to go over, it's not really a gameplay tip, and I actually just remembered. It's about callouts, and one of the biggest amateur callouts that I hear is, or that I don't hear rather, is I don't hear a lot of amateur teams calling out how many are dead. And I'm not going to tell you guys how to use that information, but if they have 2 dead or 3 dead, you should be more aggressive. That's just a small side to it. If you have 3 dead, you should be trying to talk to the last 2 guys or the last guy on your team that's alive. You should be informing him, hey, you're the last guy, try to do this, try to do that, I see this, I see that. You should be trying to give that information. If you have the last 2 guys remaining, those 2 guys remaining should be trying to work together. They should be trying to coordinate themselves in the same position, or a baiting position to where they can get an easy kill, and then put your team will have the advantage when they spawn. So that's the last thing that I wanted to go over. Those 3 things are probably the biggest 3 things that I learned that are small tips that are going to put you above the rest. So yeah, thanks for watching. There'll probably be more to come, and